Hey guys, thanks again for joining me for another brew day or brew night, as it's currently nighttime tonight. So tonight I'm brewing a Saison, which is a beer that I haven't brewed in quite a while. So I've got a recipe here that I'm going to share with you guys. The last one I did with raspberries. So this time I've been wanting to do it with blueberries, but I'm going to do it again with raspberries. Last time I didn't get to film the brew day, so I'm gonna film it tonight and show you guys how it turns out. So I've got my water level starting off with 16 litres. We're going to mash in tonight at, let's drop this, so we'll go temp. We're going to do a mash in at 68 degrees. So bring that down and get that cranking. So I'll turn the elements on. Oh, they're already on. Perfect. All right, so I've got the pump on now. Getting the pump on just helps with circulating the water from the bottom. We're down near where the elements are, so if you've got the pump running, it'll just it'll help heat up the water. All right, so for this beer, I've got some carapils, which is I've only got 400 grams of that. I've done an extra 10% to account for any losses and mistakes. So I've got 440 in there. I've got 3 kilos of marisotto with an extra 300 grams in there as well, just to allow for any losses. And then I was going to use some wheat malt, 200 grams of wheat malt, but I went to the brew shop and they didn't have any, so I bought the dry wheat extract that they had. So I'm only using 180 grams of that, which sort of works out to be about the similar or the same as 200 grams of wheat grain. So another mention, if you want to brew this beer, you're going to need to have 2 fermenters. So I've cleaned this one. I haven't cleaned this one yet, which I will down the track. But what we're going to do is we're going to ferment within this one. And then what we do is we put our raspberries into the second one, and then we transfer the wort, the fermented wort, onto the raspberries. There's also another ingredient I forgot to mention you should always have, and that's a freshly poured pint of your favorite. This just helps you get through the night. I've got it at 68 degrees, which is my mash-in water temperature. Let's get all my grain in. Maybe 3.5 kilos all up, which isn't really that much, and I've got about 10 litres of water, so it's going to absorb this pretty easy. Got it all in there now. So just get all that, break up all the dough balls. It's always good to get the pump running. This helps recirculate the water over the top of this wort here, or the mash, sorry. Make sure you always break up those dough balls. You probably just saw that little soft white floury little ball there that just had a bit of unbroken up grain there. It's not a very good view for you guys, but it's trickling over the top there anyway, and we'll just let that flow. Alright, so this is my little Sparge pot just here, which I'm going to heat up some Sparge water. Probably heat this up to about 72 degrees. My recipe needs a 12 litre Sparge, and I've got about 15 litres in this bottle. So this will be plenty. I've just got my little temperature gauge here that I just sort of put on there just to try and keep an eye on it. What I'll do is I'll mix this up every now and then and just check it, but 72 degrees is what I'm after. Alright, so my sparge water is now up to temp. It's at 76 degrees, which is about 4 degrees higher than what I'm after, but I've still got about 40 minutes left on my mash. So by the time my mash comes through, what I'll do is I'll let this cool down just by air. And if worst case, I'll just add some cold water to it just to bring it right down to the temp that I need, and then we can start sparging. You can see how clear the color is. You can see there's a little bit of grain sitting on top of that mash bed as well. That's okay. It's looking great. All right, so look at that, 72 degrees. Our water is cooled down enough now to sparge with, and we are on the 60-minute mark of my mash in. So we are ready to sparge this thing up. See that? We've got a little bit of drainage happening there. So I've got my sparge water here. It's at 72 degrees, and I need to sparge with 15 litres of our water. So this jug is 3 litres all up. So without burning myself, I'll just fill this thing up. Now, I don't know how many of you have watched my other video, which was my last release video. A trick to a better efficiency is to actually sparge slowly. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes sparging this. So that's approximately 2 minutes per jug of this that I'm going to use. While I wait, I need to get a fresh skewy. Just to give you an idea of how fast I actually sparge, I literally just trickle it on like this, just so it soaks through. All right, so I'm nearing the start of the boil. I'm going to let this go for 40 minutes. And at the 20-minute mark left on the boil, I'm going to add 30 grams of Columbus. Normally I'd add Citra because it is quite a bit of hop and it does have that lemony citrus type flavor, but I thought Columbus, I thought I'd chuck that in just to give it a little bit more of the aroma and a little bit of the flavor, but I don't want it to take over too much. So I want the raspberries to be the star of this beer, but for the bitterness and just to start it off, a bit of Columbus would be fine. All right, see the foam building up there a bit, guys? What you want to do is you just got to cut that foam, because what can actually happen if you walk away before the boil starts, it'll boil right over the top, and you'll have a bit of a mess on your hands. So just keep cutting that top foam until it dissipates. And you should be pretty safe, because I've had it do that to me plenty of times. All right, so hop addition is going to be 30 grams of Columbus. So this has a 17.4 alpha acid. And really, I purely just want this to give a little bit of bitterness. I didn't put it early in the boil because I didn't want to just, string out that bitterness for too long. I thought putting it late in the boil, it would just punch out that alpha acids. It would give it some bitterness. I do want it to impart a little bit of hoppy flavor, but really I want all the bitterness and I want all the flavor to come from the raspberries when I do the secondary ferment. So in they go. All right, so this here, guys, this is a Werflock tablet here. So it's just a little compact little tablet here that we're gonna just chuck it in, drop it in. Whoop. We'll let it fizz away. All right, so there is the color of the grain, the wort there. So it's actually smoking up a bit, but steaming, sorry. But it's looking nice and light. That's what I wanted. It's a bit hazy. It's still got a little bit of proteins and stuff little bit of the grains and stuff floating around in there, but I'm hoping that a lot of that settles out before I get that fermenting. Once it cools overnight, I'll pitch the yeast, and I've got the yeast here. I'm going to use a Saison, French Saison. You can see it there a bit better. So that's a French Saison M29 Mangrove Jack style. So it's just a dry packet. You can pick this up at your brew store. It's only like $6. So that's the style of yeast. It just gives it that nice, fresh and fruity dry flavor that you want with a Saison. So what I've got here, guys, is I've got a fermenter. It's clean, it's sanitized, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to transfer the hot wort straight out of this straight into the fermenter. So the method I'm going for is basically the same as like a hot cube. So hot cubing is a method where you transfer hot wort straight into a container and you don't cool it before you ferment. So what you do is you transfer it straight into a container and then you let it cool. So you might leave it for a month, you might leave it for 2 months, you might leave it for 2 days. But basically it just takes out the step of having to cool the beer before you ferment. Alright, so I'm going to tip the sanitizer out of this. See, it's all nice and clean. It's still actually sitting at like 93 degrees, which is quite a bit. It's quite hot. Alright, that's turned off. Alright, let's get that flowing. Right, and as you can see, that is just flowing straight out of the Robo Brew, straight into the fermenter. I know it's not a hot cube, but what I'll do is I'll just put a bit of electrical tape, handy old electrical tape, and that'll cover over the airlock hole. So that'll just, I know if you put an airlock on there, what it tends to do is it tends to pull air through the airlock, and it actually pulls, if you've got any liquid or sanitizer in the airlock, it'll actually pull stuff through into your liquids, into your beer, sorry. So you want to try and avoid that. And it is draining down quite well and quite fast. Oh, that's the end of it. What are we doing, Edie? Oh, baby. Alright, so that seems to have finished up now. So you can see there, that's a pretty solid seal. So I'm hoping that this works pretty well. Probably don't need to sanitize it because it's so bloody hot, but yeah, let's get it on there. I've taken a sample reading as well, so I'm just going to let the sample cool down a little bit before I chuck the hydrometer in. My target gravity is 1.041, so 1041 is what I'm after. I'm actually hoping that the gravity is a little bit higher. That way I can then dilute the wort with a little bit of water to try and get it down to my desired gravity. All right, so I'm pretty happy about this. Just wanted to show you guys that my gravity reading is 1041. And my target gravity reading was 1041. So I've nailed it and I'm pretty stoked about that. I did use one of my methods. I did add a little bit of extra water at the end there just to counteract the higher gravity reading. So I am bang on my numbers. Awesome. Having a quick little sample out of the tube, and it smells very wheaty and like a farmhouse style beer. It's the Saison yeast is quite different, but with some raspberries in this is going to be a delicious beer. All right, so for this Saison, I'm actually adding in a kilo of frozen raspberries, which these are just frozen Woolworths ones, and I've also got this. I thought I'd try and spruce it up a little bit with some orange peel. I've actually got this soaking in a little bit of vodka just to sterilise it and have it going. So I've actually had, oh, nearly dropped it. Had it sitting in the fridge for a night, just overnight, with just a tiny bit just to cover it. So that's just the peel, the rind on the side there. I actually used like a little knife just to pare that off, and these. Right, so we've got our clean and sanitized keg here, or fermenter. Just hooking up a little bit of a hose there, just to the other fermenter, just so I can get this transfer going. But what I'll do is first I'm just going to add my raspberries right to the bottom. So these go straight in there. My little orange peels. I'm just going to tip the vodka in and everything. Then open up the nozzle, get some beer flowing in there. You can already see that colour, that reddish pink colour starting to creep through already, so this is going to be delicious. I'm actually going to put some CO2 into this, so once I finish filling it, I'll take it over to my CO2 bottle, and I'm just going to purge the top of the fermenter with some CO2. So that'll just remove any excess oxygen that might still be in the fermenter, and that'll just help avoid any infections or any nasties getting in there. Right, so I've got my airlock here. Just got my CO2 bottle hooked up. And what I'm going to do is just give it just fill it up a little bit. That's it. Hey guys, thanks for joining me again for another brew day and process video. Once this beer is finished fermenting and once the raspberries has soaked in and I've got all that nice flavour and I've got it in some bottles or kegs, what I'll do is I'll do another tasting video. But if you haven't already checked it out, I actually have already reviewed this beer. I brewed this quite a while ago, so if you should see a link pop up somewhere here. Check it out and let me know what you think, but I will also do another review as well. So thanks for tuning in again, guys. Please like and subscribe to my page, and check out my other videos.